On an impromptu trip to Las Vegas in the fall, Bosting, a Tampa, Florida, resident, sought to place a futures bet on his beloved Lightning to win the Stanley Cup. With a healthy Steven Stamkos and few roster question marks, they were among the NHL favorites at sports books around town. Bosting scanned the card. At the very bottom, the expansion Golden Knights stood out as 200-1 long shots. He placed a $100 bet on the Lightning at 10-1 and threw another $100 down on Vegas' new hockey team, figuring they might at least exceed such low expectations. Golden Standard: how Vegas became the most successful expansion team in sports history. Those are the only two bets I made, he said. I didn't really think anything of it until halfway through the season. Both teams were looking pretty good. Then they both made the playoffs. The Lightning turned out to be as good as advertised, finishing atop the Eastern Conference and reaching the conference finals with relative ease. But on the other side of the league, the Golden Knights have defied odds and baffled experts on a run to the Stanley Cup final in their first season. Bosting suddenly owned a vested interest in one of the unlikeliest stories in sports history, one on a collision course with his favorite team. I would have been kind of in a hard spot, he admitted, disappointed but relieved when the Lightning lost in Game 7 to the Capitals. My biggest predicament would have been if Tampa had won. I could never root against Tampa, but that's a big difference in payout. Now it's a little easier for me to root for Vegas. The Golden Knights are 3 wins away from hoisting the Stanley Cup after beating the Capitals in Monday's Game 1. Bosting's ticket has turned to gold. He stands to take home $20,000 should they fulfill the bet placed September 30th at the Plaza Hotel in downtown Vegas. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other tickets like it floating around, purchased on a hunch or out of sentiment, now worth life-altering payouts. William Hill, which manages more than 100 sports books across Nevada, including at the Plaza, is carrying a liability close to $2 million. Bosting's bet is middle of the pack. William Hill will pay one bettor $50,000 for a 50-1 ticket from October, when the Golden Knights started the season winning 8 of their first 9 games. Another 200-1 bet from September carries a $40,000 payout. The list goes on, mostly for small-dollar, souvenir bets, forcing casinos to brace for heavy losses. The Westgate Sportsbook took 13 futures wagers at 500-1 odds, the longest offered anywhere, during training camp in September, before local betting interest on the Golden Knights had peaked. NHL experts and bookmakers alike were unimpressed by the roster general manager George McPhee had assembled in the June expansion draft, thought to be lacking in enough star power to compete with the rest of the league. More, Golden Knights among biggest betting long shots in sports history. No casino is immune. Up and down the Strip and across the state, the story is the same. In total, Las Vegas experts estimate collective liability is somewhere between $5 million and $7 million if the Golden Knights win the Cup, thought to be the city's biggest loss on futures betting ever. It started out, okay, new team, what are they going to win? 15 games? Didn't even think about it, said Jimmy Vaccaro, the legendary Vegas oddsmaker who now oversees the South Point Sportsbook. He estimates a 6-figure liability on futures but explained that the losses have been pouring in all season on single-game bets, too. The locals didn't even jump in early with betting, he said. Well then they found out after 10 games they were actually pretty good. They said, let me go make a $50 bet and then go to the hockey game. After like 20 games, they said, here's a great date night. You stop at the sports book, get a ticket, go to the game, come back. Date night costs you nothing. We're feeding everybody. So then we really got entrenched. They beat us up pretty good. More, a history of Lil Jon's NHL fandom. The local fervor for the Golden Knights has also helped generate interest in betting on NHL games in general. The other thing it's done, and there's no doubt about it, is it's revived hockey for bettors, Vaquero said. People a year ago didn't know that Buffalo or Florida had a hockey team. Now they know this. That's led to a 30% hike in overall action on NHL bets year over year, he said. Vaquero can only shrug. We average losing about $25,000 a game on the Golden Knights, he said. It's worth it. Everybody's happy. What am I going to tell ya? The Golden Knights' playoff run has even boosted a secondary market for bet hedging. South Point offered a yes-no prop against the Golden Knights winning the Cup 6 weeks ago in an effort to reduce some of the liability. It brought in $250,000, Vaquero said, so the sting won't be so bad in his case. More, Capitals' Tom Wilson spoils Game 1 party with another scrutinized hit and prop swap. A third-party ticket buyback website has been allowing bettors a method to cash in early on their Golden Knights tickets all season long. It's less than their would-be winnings, but presents a guaranteed profit. Herman Soriano and his wife, Cheres Di Soriano, told the Las Vegas Journal-Review that they decided to sell their ticket, purchased at South Point for $300 at 100-to-1 odds in October, in exchange for $12,600 on props swap. They plan to use the money toward a vacation in Paris while holding on to a second, less lucrative ticket, $100 at 100-to-1, and let it ride on the Knights winning it all. Thank you, Golden Knights, Soriano said. We already turned $400 into $11,500, so we're just going to roll with the $10,000. As for Vossing, he said hedging never crossed his mind, despite advice from friends. The ticket has become the talk of his beer league at the Ice Sports Forum in Tampa, which also happens to be the Lightning's practice facility. If the Golden Knights win the Cup, he'll use the money to pay off his truck and, as an avid traveler, hopes to start a blog chronicling his adventures. I'm getting a lot of people cheering for Vegas on my behalf, he said. He'd also like to put an offer on the table to buy Lightning coach John Cooper and the players a round of beers because they played a hell of a season. After all, they're the reason he picked up the card in the first place.